Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. Welcome back to Misty Hills. So we've got our hops. They're still growing, but I'm on the server today after I got things set up as far as time sync, because I'm going to go ahead and get my wheat moved. I'm not sure what I did with my truck. I always love this. That's right, it's over here. Too many places that things can be. I can only imagine it's going to be even worse when we get to our new home. So let me fire things up here. Drop that off. Alrighty. So let's get over here to the truck. So yeah, things are moving along actually pretty quickly, in my mind, at least. Maybe it's the normal pace for this stuff, but let me get everything connected here. There we go. Now we've got lights on our trailer, so I know we're connected. That's one of the nice things about nighttime is, or in this case, early morning. It is autumn, so 6 a.m. a lot of times we'd be having a lot more light on the farm, but obviously not the case today. So, we're going to be taking grain. We've got 520,000 liters or so of wheat in our silo that I'm going to move over and direct sell. Now, I may go ahead and put it through the resource exchange, but I'm not sure that I'm going to go through that at this point. Not that it's that challenging, but we'll see. So I'll just stop talking about it, because it's just going to be endless babbling with the ultimate thing of I'll figure it out once I'm off. I know things I did check is in-game I can sell it for the upper 200s to 300, low 300, because I think 315 was the best. I can do a direct sell for 444, so certainly way better. And it's possible that it's even higher, but if it's only like 500 or something, just to get the money right away, I may just do direct sell, because it's not as if I have 2 million liters of this or something where it's going to be massive. That would still be, a difference of $25,000 or so, but not necessarily something that is going to break the bank. Alright, so again, kind of as I talked about previously, a little bit of bittersweet feelings. I do love the way I have this yard laid out. Obviously gotten used to where everything is, how to work with it, and so forth. But there's excitement too about trying something different. But there's that trepidation about what if it just never feels like home, or that I enjoy it as much as I do here. So I think that's always the joy, and why change is so difficult for humans is we get very comfortable. Why is it telling me herbicide? What? I don't understand. I'm seeing this herbicide 900,000 liters. The silo's definitely not empty. What just happened? Let me exit, get back in the truck. That doesn't change. Okay, clearly you guys saw we had... Alright. Just make sure something weird didn't happen. No, it's still there. I think I've done this before, and I kind of just drove back around and I think I'm wondering because, like, it thinks I'm in the herbicide trigger, if somehow I've got a trigger issue in how the truck went, because, again, I was kind of more diagonal instead of straight. So let me try this, the placement. There we go, farm silo instead of herbicide. So weird, but just a small hiccup. Maybe it's just trying to make me understand. Maybe things could be better. I'm not as perfect as I thought. So, but yeah, so, after a few days, which is normal, or a day or two, because as we've talked about before, response to tickets in FSN is usually 24 to 72 hours, and that's every time you get a response. So it may stay within the same group, it may be the same person working on things, but basically they get 24 to 72 hours between each notification. And so, I got told yesterday morning, which was basically about, a little less than 36 hours when I looked at the ticket from when I had placed the ticket. So definitely quick. That it was being moved to the one team to look at it, to basically just make sure we're eligible, which I'm sure is checking if we've been on the server, or the map has been on the server for 90 days, stuff like that. And it got transferred a couple more times as other departments checked various things, and at this point it's the update I've got is it's been sent to operations to close out server 48. So I have also been told, we don't necessarily need to do anything specifically, that if we don't sell things, they'll do that when they close the server out and credit our account. So to basically kind of, sit back, and they try to make it as easy as possible. So, so as I said, I'm not entirely sure. I may be selling my own equipment. I may not, and not sure how that's all going to go. But I know I'll be getting something back. Certainly at least $867,932 that I have in my cash account, because that shouldn't decrease much. I think there are small changes overnight as the server, just kind of the maintenance costs of the farm buildings and so forth that are built into Farming Simulator. But just based on that, I'm sure selling the silo with wheat in it, it'll probably be like, well, you either lose it or I'll get the in-game price. And so to maximize the work I've put in, I'm going to go ahead and work the farm and get these things out. So if I get this in the custom silo today, which is certainly going to be easy enough, because somehow, even if the operations people showed up in the server now and we're like, hey, we're here to close things out and start selling off, I'm sure I could let them know, hey, I'm trying to move the wheat. Can you give me 15-20 minutes to get another couple trucks over to the custom silo? And although now that I think about it, part of the challenge is obviously if the server's gone, people can't come and do the contract. So yeah, it's probably all the better that I'm doing this as quickly as possible, because otherwise, I'm just delaying everything else because we're waiting for someone to come and get this contract. So my hope is, because it's early autumn, first day of autumn, and early morning, is that once I am done and can post the contract, there won't be a lot out there, and therefore there may be some contractor that jumps on it quickly today, and it'll all be a moot point. Everything will be taken care of. So a little bit about where we as a collective group of farm managers, but me specifically as the operation of Misty Hills Agriculture is headed to. So as I mentioned, we're going to Shellbrook Farm, Saskatchewan, a map by Camille Mapping, 4X map, set as it's said in Saskatchewan. Again, I've done a map review or a map tour on the channel, but some of the details of, kind of where it is, it's basically on the same northern latitude as Edmonton. So, and it's north of Saskatoon, and for the most part, the only other positioning I could easily determine is the closest town I could find on Google Maps, that was easy to identify and so forth. Putting that into Google Maps and then saying, hey, I'm going to drive to Shellbrook, told me it was basically 600 kilometers. So, it's about 600 kilometers north of the U.S. border. So, and I stink at doing metric to imperial calculations on distance in my head. So, but I think that basically means it's like 200 to 300 miles north of the U.S. So it's, certainly up there, kind of like, going to northern Wisconsin or, maybe mid-Wisconsin, north Midwest Wisconsin from the Chicago area type of thing, which is, what I'm pretty familiar with, having grown up there and so forth. But so that's the positioning, and then again, neither here nor there for the map, I guess. I mean, it's a very tiny town. The last census numbers that I saw reported were that it had a population of 1,400 people. So, I'm sure it'll be a tiny little town if it's modeled accurately, and the map is done with DEM data, so it's going to be mimicking the real terrain of that region. Having looked at the map on the map tour, it's definitely flattish. The biggest change, I think I mentioned in one of the other videos, the things I'm worried about that might be things that become, I'm really not enjoying this as much as I did Seneca. Field sizes are much larger, so I can say, I think with 100% certainty, I'm not going to have a farm with 7 fields on that map. That map also only has, I think, 39 fields compared to, as I shared here, we've got like 130 numbered fields, but not all of them come up for sale and use, so, maybe we have 100, but either way, somewhere between, 2.5 to 3 times fewer fields, so therefore the field sizes would probably be 2.5 to 3 times larger to take up the same map space. The other change is terrain-wise, it's not hilly, so it's not going to be hilly Shellbrook. It's going to be something else. So I'm leaning toward, as corny as it sounds, just maybe calling it Misty Brook. Again, it is generic enough. I mean, what I'm trying to avoid is a lot of folks on FSN will include their username in the name of the server somehow, and that's all well and good while they're the sponsor, but then it just is a little awkward when they're not. And people, you can change the name when you're a sponsor. It's one of the things they asked me, because this was a server that was that way, and my thing was, well, I'll just name it something somewhat generic, so that perhaps people down the road can just leave the name alone and how we came up, or how I came up with hilly Seneca, because it's hilly and the map is Seneca. So probably no more explanation needed. It's early morning. I'm trying to be witty and intelligent, and it's just not happening. But but the thought was, like, if the community gets used to, hey, I like to work on this server, or hey, I know some farmers over on hilly Seneca, or something like that, that you wouldn't have to suddenly change it and be like, oh, which Seneca map? Oh, it was the one that used to be hilly Seneca for, a year. Now it's Joey's Seneca or whatever. So that was kind of the goal, is like, I guess, frankly, I'm not, vain enough that, hey, I'm sponsoring it, so I need my name on the billboard, like companies with sports arenas or something. I don't need Citi Field or Progressive Field or Wrigley Field. I'm perfectly fine with it being Ballpark Field, and, or Cubs Field, or Chicago Field. And then it doesn't have to change every time there's a new owner. So similarly, while Misty is attached to Misty Hills Agriculture, it's also a description of the state and the atmosphere that could exist pretty much anywhere. I'm sure they get mist up in Canada, just like we get mist in Ohio. And again, Misty Hills Agriculture's name was not derived from this. It's derived from one of my favorite places in the world, the Smoky Mountains down in the southeast U.S., which are called that because of the mist that regularly rises from them that makes them look smoky. So, and rather than, calling it Smoky Hills Agriculture or something, to give it a little bit more general flavor, that I could position my farm anywhere on any kind of map, that's how I settled on Misty Hills Agriculture, because I just love that location, and ultimately I'm hopeful. My desire is that that's where my wife and I'll retire to, and kind of spend our days hiking and just enjoying nature as much as possible. So, we both love that space, and so it's an easy thing to do, and so that love of that translated into the name of my virtual farming enterprise here in Farming Simulator Multiplayer. So, those are, at this point, what I would say are the things that stick out in my head as, the differences, and probably more so the terrain differences. Because I guess what it's hard to get in touch with internally is how much of the fact that this map is rolling terrain and, got the hills around the edge and all of that, how much of that in my subconscious makes it feel good to me and enjoyable. And will I suddenly lose that and suddenly become restless on Shellbrook? Because if I'm being honest, and I'm sure it's partially because it's new, there's other maps. I did take a look at the other one that they are releasing, Swedish Landscape, which I've never seen, and took a look at another one this morning that's in, a map that's being previewed, so it's not even released to the community, let alone something that's approved in FSN or anything. So that one would be a long way away. It's not something we could take advantage of now, but, even looking at Swedish Landscape, there was a little bit of, this one, feels different for this and this reason, and, for example, it's, obviously it's a European map versus a North American map, so the physical geography is different, but even the road network there, it's kind of got roads that you go, they curve, they come back, fields are placed in between. It's got that nice Nordic kind of orderly European feel to it versus just, hey, we've got this giant open space like Canada and the United States farming out in that, western regions is. And, so there was a little bit of regret, I guess, of like, wow, maybe I should have looked at this map. Maybe this would have been the one to go to. But I think any map will be just as good. And the nice thing is we're not stuck to it for more than 90 days. So not that I expect to be swapping things like that. That's never my goal. I'm just not built that way in real life or anything in general. I'm comfortable with, hey, I found something I liked, I'll stick with it. I eat the same cereal for breakfast for probably decades at this point. So variety is not something that drives me per se. So I'm perfectly fine thinking I'll be good on Shellbrook, but and then there was this other one in Wisconsin, Westby, Wisconsin, that is the one in development that is now going to be a 4X map. I knew it was an FS19. I had seen the name, but someone let me know, well, the difference in FS22 is it's not just a port, they've also made it a 4X map, so they've made it bigger, because they had mentioned it in the FSN Discord about, I'd love to have this map in FSN, but it's not even ready or available to be looked at for that, so. And watching the preview video of the one place that was able to get it ahead of time, it does look interesting. And terrain-wise, it's much similar to this, and that it is very hilly. So, if I wanted something similar from a terrain standpoint, Westby's going to be a lot closer to that than Shellbrook will. So, we'll see how it all goes. But at this point, we're going to have our silos down to 0. So they are now empty. And I think, if I get the opportunity and they tell me, hey, because my understanding from what I've been told is they're going to basically give us a date of when the server's going to be shut down, which then we can back into when we need to sell things. So it's not like they're just because I saw the ticket from last night, basically 12 hours ago or whatever, saying, hey, get going on shutting server 48 down, that suddenly they're going to just come in and shut it down. My understanding is they're going to let us know. The plan is, in 4 days, we're going to shut you down and do the work to then get the new map on and so forth. So my hope is, if we do that, I think I'm definitely going to come in and sell my stuff off, just because it's something to do, something to share with you guys. And again, it's a little bit of closure, kind of like, it's going to be, I guess, a morbid comparison, but kind of like, hey, someone died and, I want to make the funeral arrangements and see their body get buried and so forth. Like it just kind of ends things. And so I know it's not like suddenly I was on the server in my working farm one day and then suddenly I just never visited it again. And, maybe in my mind it's still out there. If I feel, strange as it sounds, I guess, if I go ahead and sell things off, I'll know, like, it's gone. I sold it. Like, that silo's not there anymore. I got $100,000 for it or whatever it is, because I know that's been another part of the discussion I've been having with some of the FMs is, they just spent a good amount of money on a BGA, like between all the equipment they needed and whatever. They said they spent $3.5 million, and they're never going to obviously get that back. And they're not upset about it or anything. They're just stating facts, and they're excited to move. But just the reality of how quickly things depreciate in value in the game. You're not going to be able to turn around and sell that for probably even half of that. I don't remember specifically what my buildings cost, but I want to say that base silo complex was $500,000. I've not looked at, what it's worth. I can do that in a bit here once I park this. And I'm going to get a little bit sloppy maybe. Again, there's not really that much wear and tear here, but since I'm just going to be selling these things off, kind of cleaning them up and doing all that just feels a little less urgent at this point. But obviously I'm still going ahead and doing my normal hey, be prepared stuff. So yeah, if I go to, let's just take a look at our silo. It should be here. There we go. So yeah, see the extensions I'm going to actually lose money on. The same thing, like if I sell it, I'm actually losing money by closing things out. So maybe I won't have $867,000. So I don't know what they do in that case. I'm guessing they do just sell it, and then, we lose some money. But, the equipment has some positive value to it. So it probably, covers that, but it might be a wash. Some of these are worth more, obviously. $187,000 for the root crop harvester and so forth. So, we've got just under $400,000 there. Things like that. So yeah, it might be good, and so maybe what I'll do in that case, and then kind of it'll be what it'll be, is I won't sell the things that are negative. I'll leave those alone, and if I still kind of lose that, or if they just do vanish into the ether, there'll still be, some of that feeling of, I just can't get over. Is there a light? I'm wondering if there's like a light somewhere. Oh, now I see. Stupid me. Okay. Yeah, fair. Sorry. So, context, in case this is the only video you're watching. I saw this the other day, and I just saw this. I don't know that, for whatever reason, when I say this, the grass, I don't know that I even saw the fender, which is what made me look up. And I'm like, has this always been there? Like, if I've been working this farm for 20 years and I've never seen that there's a painted circle in the grass. But it's the indicator from the pipe from the seed tender. So, silly me. I was just fascinated with it the other day, like someone had spray painted my grass, and I'm like, what does this mean? Where did it come from? So anyway, so we've got that wheat done. Now let's figure out what we're going to do with it. Alright, so here I am. So, again, I don't know that I've ever shown the logo. So here's my Misty Hills Agriculture logo. So as you can see, Smoky Mountains in the background, overlaid some things, and there you have it. So that explains, how I've come up with the name for my endeavor. As I figured, it's 529 in Baku, which is the warehouse. To move it along quickly, I could list it for 500, maybe 510. So it's not enough of a difference. So I'm going to go ahead and direct sell. And I have more than 500,000, so I'm going to, do 500,000 to begin with. And so you'll see we're going to make $222,000. And finalize and sell. And then we'll just hop back over here to the server, run over the custom silo, just make sure we know what we've got. So 20,645 is what's left. So back here on the page, again, we pick wheat, 20,645, and then we head to the confirmation page. Well, that's terrible. Oh, I'm going to lose that. You can't do less than 25,000. Huh. Can I send to warehouse? Will it let me do that? Probably not. No. Well, that's unfortunate. I could have broken it into a different group, but oh well. So I'm going to lose, what, like $8,000, but what you going to do? So it is what it is. All right. And yeah, someone has had 100,000 rye sitting there forever. So that's that. But anyway, you know, I assume we're going to see buildings like this. I haven't been on an FS22 server. I'm thinking the model's the same, but the FSN custom silo may look totally different on a FS22 server. I don't know. But anyway, just heading back over to the homestead, or at least one of them. So yeah, the other piece, as I said, is, you know, I've got, what, 178,000 in lime. So again, lime's pretty cheap, but I have 168,000 in, I think those are, I think that's fertilizer. Because I think the top one is seeds. So, you know, there's a good amount of money in the supplies here, and I think those are just gonna be gone. So another one of it is what it is. This is how things work, and once again, it's not as if I'm suffering for cash. I think I've got $7 million in the bank, so that should be enough to get me going in Shellbrook. So that's the plan. I don't know if we're going to be able to get our hops off the field and get those sold as well. I hope we can, but if we can't, we can't. Again, they'll be ready tomorrow, so I'm thinking, you know, unless it's like it is now where it's wet and I can't harvest, I'm thinking I should be able to get things off, but we'll take it a day at a time as we watch the trees wave back and forth and the wind whistle through the air like we always have on Hilly Seneca. We'll see what, you know, Shellbrook sounds like compared to this, and I will see you next time.